Jackie's kind of an interesting case, as she might actually be a real person. A lot of people who have a variety of views on her Random Assault podcast thinks that she's real and that she was actually interested in Chris Chan. The idea being that she's a really screwed up person who's been burned by a lot of boys, and she knows that she can control Chris and get him to do whatever, and he'll never leave her out of gratitude. So she basically started flirting with Chris, and she tried to get him to improve himself, asked him to do all this other stuff, tried to get like Sonichu printed, tried to get his life on track. And basically what wound up happening was she was like willing to pursue a relationship with him if he tried to get his shit together, but he refused to, and he wound up blocking her, largely just because he was too lazy to do anything. And she was, despite finding a boyfriend-free girl, stress and laziness meant do anything with her real chance for love. So he wound up blocking her, and it's kind of the only case where he shut it down. Next, we have Mia Hamm, which I don't believe for a second. So Chris Chan, desperate to lose virginity, found a woman named Mia Hamm who was a hooker, and he apparently had sex with her. I'm not going to read his long summary about it, but he claims that he paid a woman for an hour of sex, that he had sex with her again the following month. So he had earlier stated that he wouldn't have sex with a prostitute because it would mean his love quest failed, but apparently she left prostitution shortly afterwards because that was just the worst thing possible. And he he describes himself as being like a master of sex, and that she told him he was the best she ever had, which is what prostitutes tell everybody who has sex with them. Not that I would know. Yeah, I just, it's hard to know. There's a couple other times he had experiences with hookers where he tried to tell how bad his life was to get them to give him a discount or to give him sex for free. Chris Chan also has severe erectile dysfunction. Dick is bent, and he's done so much weird shit to it over the years. I think he shoved stuff up it, but he claims he had sex with a prostitute. I don't believe it. So all this failure leads to the Tom Girl saga, and this is where we start getting into the really bad stuff. I suggested to him that he should start getting in touch with his feminine side, so he became a Tom. Only a Tom Girl, I think, in his context, is when a male becomes a transvestite. So he thinks the term came from some movie where he says that being a transvestite is the same as being a male tomboy. Chris Chan has decided that he wanted to dress up like a woman, so he started wearing a bra, he started wearing panties. Actually, he came up with the idea that men should be forced to wear bras. Here's an early picture of Chris during the Tom Girl saga, where he started to wear makeup and started to dress like a woman. Eventually, he would go full-on tranny and start taking hormonal therapy, etc. So today he refers to himself as being a lesbian, trans-spirited woman. I forget what the actual term is, but he's still attracted to women, and he still has his love quest, despite the fact that he now identifies as female and calls himself Christine Weston Chandler. And in the comics, he also changes himself to Christine Weston Chandler. So he started wearing a skirt and high heels, and Barb and Bob actually got angry at him over this. Bob calls him a fag. Chris Chan started using the ladies' restroom, so he continues to use it to this day. Tomboys and tom girls of Virginia. Well, let's see here. He claimed to have docs of all of his trolls, which he put up. I think he was wrong about all of it. Chris Chan was unable to make more videos. Okay, he refers to himself as being a lesbian in a male body. Not Chris Chan is actually trans or not. I mean, obviously, if you've seen any of my channel, I think the entire thing is indicative of severe mental illness, and the people should probably be institutionalized. So what Chris would go on to do, and once again, vomit warning, there's going to be a lot of vomit warnings, is we have the unclit. Went on to get a piercing on his taint as kind of a woman thing, and he thought that getting a piercing there would give him the equivalent of a vagina. So he got that, but he was also listening to binaural beats and subliminal messages, which he believed would help him to develop female genitalia organs. What wound up happening when he got the piercing is because Christian hasn't bathed in years, it immediately got infected. So he began to re-pierce it himself with a safety pin, and that made it worse. So he professional and had it redone, but it kept getting infected, and he hasn't gone to a doctor yet. So let's see here. So what is this? Okay, so I'm just going to read this. Well, for a whole a month without new updates on the Trolls website. I was hoping for longer than that, but I was going to make a public announcement about it anyways. The cat's out of the bag now. Anyways, I had something done to me that is radical, that I did for my lesbian soul. I got a new piercing on my taint on Monday the 15th about where my clitoris would be if I was a woman. In short, steel straight pierce, okay, whatever. I'm tending to it, cleaning personally in daily baths or showers, as well as cleaning the area with rubbing alcohol twice daily. That sounds like a really bad idea. I, Christian Weston Chandler, have long been thinking about getting a piercing on my taint with a steel sphere where my clitoris would be if I was born female. In my sole identity as female and a lesbian, as a fair substitute for that, and to stimulate the woman's clitoris via scissoring. Years ago, after watching the lesbian couple tripping each other in the softcore and porn video, The Key to Sex. For those of you who don't know about tripping, it is more commonly known as scissoring, where one woman rubs her vulva against the other woman's vulva to stimulate each other's clitoris. The female bonobo monkeys also have long clits, and they do it to each other all the time. And to make everyone understand, I am a female lesbian soul trapped in a male body, or to put it another way, I am a lesbian transgender. I am seriously into women. I'm not gay. I like chicks. Even my own penis grosses me out. I'm glad that I tuck it underneath my taint, so I don't have to look at it as an ugly bulge. I have come out as lesbian transgender. I have always been and ever will. And for every one of you sods who continues to mislabel me as a homosexual male, or hint anything towards that even in jest, you can kiss the vagina of my soul. So he still hates homosexual men, but he's a tranny. So he posted a picture of it, and he continues to... I'm going to warn you now, there might be a picture somewhere on this page that I'm accidentally going to... Okay, I don't see one here. So then he re-pierced it again, and what it turns out to be is it's a massive infected cut on his taint, and it continues to grow, and he continues to push it and make it grow further and further. Also keep in mind, Christian doesn't bathe and he wears diapers, so the whole thing is coated in feces, and it's soon going to get gangrenous, and if the wound goes into his blood system, he will die from septic shock. So he has an open wound that he's actively stretching and trying to make bigger, that he thinks is his vagina, and it's coated in piss and shit from the diapers he wears, and he's still in continued denial. Septic shock could happen soon, so he very could likely die from this. I'm not gonna show this because honestly it makes me almost vomit. So that wound up happening, and that's kind of where we are today. So let's just go into a bit more of the other stuff. We have the Sonic Boom protests, because basically what they did was they changed the color of Sonic's arms and made them blue, because Sonic's arms were initially kind of tan, the same color as his chest, but they changed it to blue. So Chris Chan went on a rampage, and he made his own version of the Sonic the Hedgehog cover that he coated. So recolored. So he recolored Sonic's arms as being tan, and he went into GameStops and he put the insert into the game boxes. He also had a one-man protest to boycott the game. And he would go and protest out of GameSpots holding a sign that says Sonic arms are not blue. So during one of the times when he was protesting and trying to deface the display, a GameStop employee came up to him and he sprayed the guy in the face with mace. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, he didn't actually hit the guy, but he went to court over the whole thing because it is assault with a deadly weapon. The guy could have been seriously hurt by it. And I say this as someone who supports personal defense weapons. I'm just saying, if you're going to randomly attack people, then you should get in trouble over it. He wound up getting out of the whole thing without actually going to jail at all. Interestingly enough, he sprayed some of it on himself. So we have blue arms as the new black, which was a parody someone did. So he wound up going to court, but he got out of it, and he just had probation, despite the fact that he has multiple convictions on his record. And, okay, someone actually paid Big Man Tyrone to do it. So yeah, there's like a video and everything of him spraying the employee. Let's see here. Let's just watch this quick. So yeah, so he had burned his hands for weeks as a result of that. So Chris Chan basically got off because he's retarded, but he's not retarded enough to put in assisted care apparently. So he went on and on about the whole blue arms thing. And then around this time we had the destruction of Chris's house, and Chris's house was destroyed because they had a plugged-in coffee maker in the bathroom, and the coffee maker's cord had eroded over time from repeatedly closing the door over the cord, because the cord was over the door and not under the door. It had started an electrical fire which burned the house down, and so the house had to be rebuilt, and yet it's just as shitty as ever. Chris Chan would, of course, go and rebuy all of his stuff with even more money. So we're getting into kind of the modern day now. So we have the Unclit Part 2. So because Chris Chan literally has no money, and since the fire, take out more and more loans, get more and more credit cards, and he's tens if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and at some point they took out another mortgage on the house. So Chris decided to do something logical, and he started selling stuff on eBay and eventually Etsy. So he would make Sonichu medallions, or medallions of whoever you want, and he'd sell those. He'd draw you pages of his comics. He'd send you like autographed photos of himself, and you could pay for all of this. And this is actually really smart because everyone knows who Chris Chan is, and owning a Sonichu medallion signed by him, I mean, that's part of internet history. That's pretty cool, and he was actually making good money off of that. But Chris Chan is lazy as fuck, so as soon as he got the money, he would immediately spend it on pornography or food. And he would spend that would include the money that he would spend shipping the things, so he actually was losing money off of running a successful online business. He was also too lazy to actually send most of the stuff out, so it would be months wait, and everyone downvoted him, and eventually eBay closed his store down for violating terms of service. He then opened an Etsy shop where he did the same thing, and it included, for every, I think, $20 you donated, he'd make a panel page for Sonichu. And one guy actually gave him $1,000 and said, never stop making Sonichu. But Chris refused to make Sonichu, so despite making quite a bit of money off of that, that just turned out to be a disaster. He also made Sonichu amiibos, which he lost money on, because basically he would buy a Sonic the Hedgehog amiibo and a Pikachu amiibo, and he would cut the Pikachu tail and then glue it onto the Sonic the Hedgehog amiibo. And so this whole thing led to the financial crisis? One second. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I am a professional. Financial crisis. So Chris Chan has just started making video after video begging. And one video he made begging was for people to buy him all these Transformer toys. He made a video begging for someone to buy him a PS4, but he took out more money and bought that stuff for himself. And he continues to beg and beg. And here is just some of the debts that we have. Let's see here. He purchased a PS4 with a credit card. He has credit card companies have started taking him to court because his mother and him have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid credit card debt. So they're starting to get sued over and over again by stuff. Here's some stuff that Christian has bought during the financial crisis. Ghostbusters Lego set for $500, $500 in Transformer toys, at least $100 in sex toys, a $600 PS4, and at least $500 in video games. So he spent $2,400 American on stuff for himself since the financial crisis began. Now, to put that in perspective, my 5-night trip to Chicago, it wound up being, I think, 4 nights. My 4 or 5 day trip to Chicago, including all the food I bought, including the airline tickets, was about $1,100 or $1,200. I get paid, probably that's about what I make in a month. That actually might be a little more than what I make in the month because of how bad the Canadian dollar is. So he spent more money than what I make at an okay for someone my age, white collar job in a month. Spent that in the last 6 months on just toys. So he's taken money from payday loan. He's had his Etsy shop shut down for violating terms of service. He begs for money over and over again. He did ones where he's like begged for money to pay for Barb's medical bills, and then he uses the money to buy himself more toys. See here, he just wants more and more money. He started making YouTube channel and doing Let's Plays. He sold a couple VIN cards on eBay. He won't sell any of his video games. He won't sell any of his other stuff. He just continues to e-beg over and over again. He has a Patreon, of course, because everyone has a Patreon. So he claims that he needs at least $200,000 for all of his loans. He now says that he needs $250,000 to pay off everything. Keep in mind that's American, so that's like 400 grand Canadian. And he wants an extra $50,000 just to buy more. So he wants money while playing with Transformer toys. So he lives in just kind of a room surrounded by toys, having sex with his sex doll, slowly dying from obesity, diabetes. His teeth have started to fall out from the amount of soda he drinks on a daily basis. He may get dysentery or die from dehydration at some point because he doesn't drink water and because he doesn't eat any food with fiber. He'll probably get cancer at some point. So that kind of brings us up to the present, and we keep saying this can't go on any longer, this can't get worse, but it does keep getting worse. It keeps getting weirder, it keeps getting more disgusting, and I don't really know what to say about the whole thing. Chris Chan, as I think you've seen, has kind of come to epitomize neat culture. He's kind of come to epitomize the worst aspects of, well, humanity, but kind of the worst aspects of the internet. How corrosive being a professional need is. How many assholes a lot of these people have to deal with. I mean, the whole thing is just a complete and utter, I don't really know what to say about it. So I think that concludes the saga of Chris Chan. If people want me to make anything else, I will. Otherwise, I wish you all a good day. And whenever you're down, just think to yourself, you're not Christian.